Today we are going to present to all of you about the power of context, how situational, cultural and interpersonal factors shape language use. So these are the presenters. My name is Muhammad Syamshami, and the other two, please introduce yourself.
My name is Nur Afrina Abdul Rashidi,
and my name is Nur Aini Abzal binti Jamal Abdul. Okay, so in communication, context refers to the surrounding condition or circumstances in which communication takes place. The context helps shape the meaning because the same words or expression can convey different messages depending on the surrounding.
So, for example, when we say something like it's cold in here, it could simply be observation in one context, but in another context, it might be a request for someone to close the window. Without understanding the context, communication can lead easily to misunderstanding. Context is vital for interpreting not only the literal meaning of words, but also the implied or figurative meanings, making it essential for an effective communication.
Yes. So these are the three main types of context in communication. The first one would be situational context, the second one cultural context, and the last one is interpersonal context.
For the situational context, often refers to the physical or social setting in which communication takes place. It encompasses the immediate environment such as the location, time, and the presence of other people, as well as the specific circumstances surrounding the interaction. For example, a conversation at a workplace meeting has a different situational context than one at a family dinner or in a classroom. The factors of the situational context often involve the environment, the participants, relationship, and also the cultural norms. Okay, so for the first example is that for the formal setting, which is like classroom, in a classroom, a teacher is expected to use structured, clear, and respectful language when addressing students. For example, the teacher could say, could everyone please submit their assignments by Friday? By using the words could, it shows that the language she used is a formal as it is in an academic setting. So she used the formal tone in delivering her message. For the next example is today we will discuss the causes of the Industrial Revolution. In here she stated what the outcome or the learning that they will learn in a classroom, as it is in the classroom setting, so the sentence are in a formal tone. So this term is formal, respectful, and focused on maintaining professionalism between teachers and students. The politeness strategies such as indirect requests or use of please or thank you are often employed to create an authoritative but respectful atmosphere. Next. So as the next one is casual conversation with friends. When the same teacher is with friends or in a casual environment, the language becomes relaxed with informal word choices, contraction, and lighter tone. So for the first example is that hey guys, you want to grab lunch later, or the next one is I can believe how fast the week's gone by. So the first sentence it says that hey guys, hey is like a greeting, an informal greeting for us to greet the person that we have the same authority level with us. And the next one is I can believe how fast the week's gone by. And in this sentence, like she used the short form can't as in cannot, and also the weeks as in week is. And lastly, the tone is more laid back as you can see, and the vocabulary is more simpler with less focus on the structure and on the formality. The speaker may also use humor or slang depending on the social dynamics of when the conversation takes place.
Okay,
Okay, the next one is the impact on language. For the word choice in a formal setting, words tend to be more precise, respectful, and professional. And otherwise, in an informal setting, the words are used sometimes are simpler, and sometimes they use the colloquial language or slang in that conversation. And the last one is the tone. The term informal setting is typically more serious or respectful, whereas informal setting allow for a more relaxed and friendly tone. The last one is the polite use strategies. The formal settings require more indirect and polite requests, while in informal context, it requires us to be more direct or casual. So, this is the importance of understanding the situational context in a conversation. The first one is knowing the situational context allows the communicators to tailor the message to the needs of the environment. This helps avoid misunderstanding by ensuring the language, tone, content are clear and relevant to the setting. For example, using technical jargon in a formal meeting may be appropriate, but it will confuse people in an informal conversation. If we want to use jargon in a formal setting, we should use a simple jargon, or we should explain the jargon what does it carries, what means it carries. The next one is the respecting the social norms. So as the different settings come with specific expectation regarding behavior and language use, understanding the situational context helps communicators adhere to these norms, ensuring respect for culture, social, and also the professional boundaries. For example, like being too casual in a formal setting like a job interview can seem disrespectful or unprofessional, because if we want to greet someone who are not familiar with us and we want something from them, or we want them to take us to work with them, we must be respectful or professional to show that our professionalism in doing work. And the next one is enhancing effectiveness. Effective communication depends on adjusting language to suit the formality, expectation, and emotional atmosphere of the situation. In a formal setting, such as presentation, a structured, polite style is more likely to engage the audience. In a casual setting, using informal language fosters connection and rapport. Next one is building relationship. Adjusting communication based on the situational context helps to build and maintain strong relationship, such as a teacher who shifts the communication style between students and in a classroom and friends in a casual setting, demonstrates social awareness, which helps them connect more effectively with different audience. And the last one is avoiding miscommunication. Failing to recognize situational context can lead to a confusion or an offense. For example, speaking too formally in a casual setting may make someone appear as distant, while being overly informal in a professional environment could lead to misunderstanding or diminish in credibility.
So next is we'll take a look on interpersonal context. So from my understanding, interpersonal context refers to a basic conversation that we have in a daily life, whether it happens online or offline. Basic communication in interpersonal context is very important to avoid miscommunication and misunderstanding between two people in conversation. So we will take a look on the key components of the interpersonal communication, which is verbal communication, non-verbal communication, listening skills, and also emotional intelligence. So let's take a look. According to Toronto 2011, interpersonal communication is any face-to-face verbal and non-verbal response of others. So emphasized by Alright et al. 2022, who say that interpersonal communication in general is a communication between two people face to face, and each person involved in communication usually and understand the perception of each other. So yeah, this is what I'm saying just now, where we will take a look on the components in the interpersonal communication. Next. So the first one is verbal communication. Verbal communication refers to the verbs and the language that we choose to talk to the other person, where we want to clarify our thoughts and also expressing our feelings. So when we talk to other person, we need to choose a language and words where the conversation is understood by the listeners. So the second one is tone and pitch. Why is it important in a verbal communication? Because it is something that can significantly impact the listeners, because on how tone and pitch is different when conveying during different emotion. So for example, high-pitched tones also often associated with something to express excitement or to express happiness, whereby like when we are talking in a low-pitched tone, we tend to express our seriousness or calmness. So how about non-verbal communication? Non-verbal communication refers to our body language and gestures in conveying the message without using a word. So for example, if someone asks me, Afrina, can I borrow your pen? I simply could just nod, and they would get the agreement and approval from me without I'm using any words. So facial expressions. Facial expression is a part of non-verbal communication, because when we're in a conversation, we want to express our emotions such as happiness, anger, surprise, that were expressed by our facial movement. So when we're saying something like "I'm fine" with a sad face, people would quickly know that you're not doing alright. So that's why it's important. The last one in this component is eye contact. Maintaining eye contact, manner of the eye contact and maintaining the eye contact with this between speakers and listeners can indicate interest, attention, and emotion. It also can help us in maintaining and looking confidence during the conversation. In addition, when maintaining eye contact with the other person, people would tend to trust what we're saying, and people would be persuaded by our speech. So the third one is listening skills. Active listening skills is very important in a conversation, because when we fully concentrating and understand what the speaker said, we tend to remember what is being said. So this is important because it helps foster visual understanding between the speakers and also the listeners. So the second point of listening skills is feedback. Feedback such as providing response that show comprehension and engagement with the speakers. When we are having a conversation and the speakers wants to know the listeners' opinion about it, the listeners should provide something like, yes, I understand, in my opinion, and so on, to providing response to show that their engagement during the conversations. So the last one is, the last component is emotional intelligence. The first point, self-awareness, recognizing one's own emotion and their impact on the communication. So when we're having conversations, it is important for a speaker to aware that the person they are talking to is feeling sad, down, or unmotivated, so that they can provide advice or a good tips or motivation for them. So the last point is empathy. understanding has been fostered. Sharing the feelings of others, and it helps facilitating deeper connections, because when we are having a conversation and we feel like the other person listen to us, understand what we feel, we tend to have deeper connection with them, and we will be more open about our feelings and emotions. Okay, so for the example of informal and formal interpersonal communication, the first one is formal interpersonal communication tend to use polite language with please or thank you, and indirect requests like I would appreciate your feedback. So with having interpersonal communication, they tend to use minimal expression in the conversation to convey seriousness in formal setting. They use like titles Mr. or Miss to show respect to the person that have higher rank from them, and to maintain the professionalism. So the second one is informal. Informal interpersonal communication is used in a basic conversation with our friends or relatives, and we tend to use like casual greetings like hey, hello, and also relaxed language with informal expression like what you up to, and I'm super busy this week. Our emotional, expressive, and also personal conversation focus on catching up updates and making plans rather than a structured task where we are using it for going to interview or having a meeting with our manager. So, impact on the language. Each group in a communication, people within the same social group or age group in a community often develop their own language or slang, so they to communicate more easily. Like this creates a sense of belonging and identity within the group. For example, teenagers often develop their own slang like this party such a vibe, while in a millennial or Gen Y, it translates to something like this party is so fun. To create a sense of belonging and identity within the group lah. Okay, so the second one is cultural and social norms. In some culture, language is strongly shaped by their hierarchy. For instance, in many Asian cultures, honorific and formal speech patterns are used when speaking to someone of a higher status or rank. So I'll take example in Asian country, which is Korean, where they use honorifics such as me to talking to someone higher rank with them, which is like manager name and so on. So the importance of having interpersonal communication is to promote effective communication. When you understand interpersonal context, you can choose the appropriate language. The tone and the communication will be suit in the situation. This prevents misunderstanding and help convey your message clearly and ensure that other person understand you fully. Example, you would use formal, respectful language when speaking to a boss, but a more casual tone with your close friend. Build and maintain a relationship. So adapting communication to the interpersonal context strengthens social bonds and helps maintain positive relationship. By using like endearing language with family or friends, versus using respectful title with client, it helps solidify appropriate relationship boundaries. So enhance conflict resolution. In conflict situation, understanding the interpersonal context helps you approach sensitive communication carefully, adjusting your language to minimize defensiveness and promote understanding. Like for example, when in a disagreement with your colleague or peers, a calm and a polite structured manners of conversation lead to more productive discussion compared to a confrontational one. So respect social and cultural norms. Understanding interpersonal context often involves recognizing cultural and social norms that dictate how people interact. Different cultures have different expectations for formality, greetings, or expression of politeness. So being mindful of this norm avoid offending others and ensure smooth communication across cultural boundaries. Example, like in some culture, using a formal title and being indirect is still respectful. For example, in Japan, saying no directly is something that unrespectful and rude. So they tend to say something like "kandaite okimasu" or like "sumimasen." Sumimasen, choto dekimasen, which means I'll have your consideration about this, and also I will think about it later, rather than saying no, because it is form of being polite in a country. While in other countries, direct communication is valued. We'll take example such as an American, where they encourage people to have a freedom of speech, where they appreciate your opinions and thoughts about everything. Okay, next. Improve emotional sensitivity. So recognizing the emotional tone of interpersonal context allows to adjust your approach based on the emotional needs of the situation. It helps you soften or intensify communication depending on whether the other person is in a vulnerable, tense, or a celebratory mood. Example, when you are comforting a friend that is in distress or he requires a motivation and support, you can use empathetic tone while discussing success at work with your colleagues, and involve in a communication in a more interesting tone.
So for the last content is cultural context. So what it means by cultural context is it is the understanding the cultural and interpersonal context in communication essential for several reasons. It helps to create more effective, respectful, and meaningful interactions between the culture. As we know that we all have a different culture where we need to understand and value their culture so that we can get the two-way communication more easily. So these are the factors that influence the cultural context. The first one is cultural norms and values. Second one, language and communication styles. Next one, non-verbal communication. Next one, context high versus low. And last one is time orientation. The first one, we'll be looking at the cultural norms. It means that it shared belief, practice, and standards that shape behavior within a particular culture. And how these cultural norms impact the cultural context is where how people express themselves, their attitudes toward formality, hierarchy, individualism, and collectivism. So, as for the other culture, the attitudes toward the formality may be in a good manner, but in other culture it may in a lower manner. So, for example, some cultures value individual achievement, especially in Western cultures, while others emphasize group harmony and family in Eastern culture. The next one that influences the cultural content is language and communication style. What it means by language and communication style is the structure of the language, vocabulary, and preferred style of communication, direct versus indirect, formal versus informal. So, as for the Chinese culture, they use a different sentence structure comparing to Malay and English. For example, in Malay or English, we use the subject, verb, and object. But in Chinese culture or in their language, they use subject, object, and verb. So, if we as a Malaysian, it's a foreign language for us. If we want to direct translate the sentence from the Chinese, we may not understand because the sentence structure is different. For examples, I am learning in the classroom. Subject, verb, and object. But in Chinese, for example, 我在可是学习. It means that if we direct translate, it means that I at the classroom learning. So if we try to direct translate the Chinese language, it may be different and we can't understand it fully. Next one is non-verbal communication. It's like Afrina said just now, body language, eye contact, body gestures, among others. So if, right now, if I'm talking to Afrina, I may have good eye contact because it means a lot for someone who are having conversation. So what are the impact of having this good non-verbal communication? As I said, body language, body gestures, and eye contact. Non-verbal cues vary very significantly between cultures. For instance, eye contact is seen as confidence in Western cultures, but may be perceived as disrespectful in some Asian or Middle Eastern culture. What it means by if we are looking directly to someone's eye, they may understand that they are scolding him or want to give some punishment. So by looking at their eyes directly, we can simply use our body language to help them be comfort when talking to us. So next one is context, high versus low. What is mean by high versus low? The degree to which communication relies on context or is expressive. The impact on this context high and low is in high context culture. Example, Japan, India, communication is often implicit with a heavy reliance on non-verbal cues and shared understanding. In low context culture, such as in United States and Germany, communication is more direct and explicit with less reliance on the surrounding context or non-verbal cues. It means that they use a lot of in Asia, they use a lot of non-verbal communication to simply converse with other people effectively. Such as, I talk to Aini, can I borrow a pencil? No. So she said no, then it's done. Next. For last one is time orientation. It means that attitudes to time, including punctuality, deadlines, and long-term versus short-term orientation. What it means by this is the attitudes to time. When we are talking to other people, they may have some time. They may have another things to do, but we as a speaker, we must know and respect their schedule in that day. So if you want to talk, we can simply take 5 to 10 minutes and just end up with a polite way. So the impact of time orientation, some cultures in US and Germany emphasize strict time management and punctuality, while others, many Latin American or Mediterranean cultures, have a more flexible approach to time, valuing relationships over schedule. So they tend to have long conversation to build relationship rather than having a short conversation. So what are the importance of the cultural context? The first one is avoid miscommunication. Cultures have different communication styles, norms, and non-verbal cues. For instance, in some cultures, direct communication is valued, while in others, indirect or implicit message are preferred. Misunderstanding these differences can lead to confusion or offense. Being aware of the cultural context ensure that messages are correctly interpreted, avoiding miscommunication or conflict. To simply short this long text, we must know others' background and we must know their culture before talking to them. Next one is to build trust and relationships. So, in interpersonal interactions by Afrina, being sensitive to cultural differences shows respect and consideration, which is crucial for building trust and rapport. Understanding someone's cultural background helps in create connections by recognizing their values, beliefs, and communication preference, leading to stronger, more meaningful relationship. So, it can, when having conversation with others, we can build trust and relationship where we can know the person, and we can also notice their backgrounds and or culture. Next one is enhancing cooperation and collaboration. So in a multicultural or global context in the workplace, understanding cultural differences can improve teamwork and collaboration. It allows individuals to navigate through potential communication barriers, creating an inclusive environment where everyone feels understood and respected. This is key for problem solving, decision making, and fostering creativity in diverse terms. Okay, for example, we as a student, we want to collaborate with others in the 6 C's collaboration. So we can understand if you want to collaborate with other people, such as in another country or another state, we must know the importance of cultural background. For example, if most of us is from Penang, if you want to cooperate or collaborate with other student in Sarawak or Sabah, you must know what can we say or what we can't. Maybe some of our words offended to them, but maybe they are okay with that. So it can enhance cooperation and collaboration, aligning with the 6 C's in our education. The next one is preventing stereotype and bias. Without an understanding of cultural context, there is risk of making assumptions or reinforce stereotypes. A deeper understanding of cultural nuances reduce prejudice and encourage open-mindedness, promoting empathy and reducing conflict stemming from misunderstanding, especially in social, workplace, or classroom. Next one, or last one, respecting differences in values and norms. Cultures differ in their views on hierarchies, social norms, politeness, and etiquette. For example, in some cultures, addressing someone by their first name might be seen as too informal, while in others it's completely acceptable. For example, in Malaysia or in Malay culture, we tend to call their second name because our first name is mostly Muhammad and Nur. So calling their name as Muhammad and Nur maybe seems like too informal or too formal or too common. So we tend to call their second name and it is acceptable. Oh, last one. Effective conflict resolution. When conflicts arise, understanding the culture and interpersonal context can be essential for resolving them. Different cultures approach conflict differently. Some may prefer direct confrontation, or some may prefer, or while others may prioritize harmony and indirect resolution. Knowing this preference enables more effective negotiation and mediation. So, in conclusion, to cultural context, understanding the cultural and interpersonal context in communication is essential for fostering effective, respectful, and meaningful interaction. Various factors, what I said just now, is influenced in many types or many forms of conversation that we have in our daily life. So ultimately, this awareness leads to more harmonious, cooperative, and empathetic communication across cultural and interpersonal boundaries. Next one.
Okay, so the last conclusion from our presentation is the different types of context such as interpersonal, cultural and also situational play a crucial role in shaping how language is used and understood. So interpersonal context, for instance, includes how formal and informal communication or language needs to be depending on the relationship that we have with people around us. So like I explained just now, if we with someone with a higher rank, we tend to use formality in the conversation. But if we were surrounding with a close friend and someone that we are familiar with, we tend to use informal communication. While cultural context guides appropriate expressions and behavior based on the societal norms, based on the culture that they are grow up with.
So for the social context affects how individuals communicate within a group, adjusting for status, group identity, or the power of the dynamics. And the situational context like profession or the specific occasion, such as like we are in a public speaking or are we in a stand-up committee, it determines the tone, formality, and the purpose of communication. By recognizing these contexts, it is vital for effective language use, as it helps the speakers to navigate complex social interactions and convey meaning accurately and also build rapport while avoiding the misunderstanding of the offense in any party.
So this is our references for this presentation. That's all from us.
Thank you.